Colin. Thanks, Connie.
All right. Well, thank you all for joining. I know we've gone over benefits, and there's been a number of issues that you all have faced with that process. But hopefully, most everyone has completed their enrollment right now, or will shortly. I know we've been reaching out, trying to assist with any last-minute benefit elections issues. Today, we're going to focus specifically on the 401k plan, and I've invited our 401k advisor, Kendall Storch, to give a presentation specifically on the 401k plan. Again, with this plan, you'll be able to begin participating as of December 1st, or with that first payroll of December. So at this time, I'll turn it over to Kendall, and we'll go through the presentation. If you have questions, you can certainly save them to the end. We'll have time for people to ask questions live on the phone, or if you don't feel comfortable asking questions on the phone, please feel free to type them into the conversation area, and we can ask those questions at the end as well. So Kendall, please proceed.
Great. Thanks, Colin. I appreciate it. Hopefully everybody can hear me okay. I'm going to advance the slides here over to our agenda slide here, and I'll just kind of quickly touch on some of the different things that we're going to talk about today. So I'll give you a quick introduction on kind of who I am and what my role is with respect to Dassault. We'll talk about the transition process. We'll go over a brief timeline. We'll cover the Dassault plan itself. What are the provisions of the plan? What are some of the different features, et cetera? I'll quickly touch on sort of the investment options, and then we have a quick summary at the end. So my hope is this will take maybe a half hour or so to cover, and then we can open it up for questions and see what people want to talk about. So that's basically what I have on the docket for today. So first slide here is just a couple slides, a little bit about my organization. You might be asking yourself, why is this person talking to me? They're not a Dassault employee. What is their function here? So I work for a company called Arthur J. Gallagher. We're a benefits advisory and consulting firm. We're a large organization all across the world. We've been working with Dassault now for probably 10 years, 12 years, something along those lines, very closely with the HR and the finance group on the 401k plan. So it's been a very good partnership. We have some pretty deep knowledge around kind of where the plan has been and hopefully where it's headed to. But in particular, there are a couple of different functions that we fulfill. Number one is we work very closely with Dassault's retirement committee, or retirement committee, probably best way to describe it, where we take a close look at the plan every quarter. We keep an eye on how the funds are performing. We keep an eye on expenses. We keep an eye on the plan design to try and make sure that it's as competitive as possible. So we try to make sure that the plan is operating in the best fashion that we can. So that is something that typically happens behind the scenes. It's not something that's evident necessarily to the employees unless we make some changes to the plan. Our second role, so it's kind of dual function, is to work with the participants. So if you do have questions about your own account, if you're looking for some advice or some thoughts around, do I have the right mix of funds? Am I on track to have enough money for retirement purposes? What's happening with the markets? Kind of anything along those lines, you can reach out to myself or my coworker Adam. We're sort of the point contacts for employees within the Dassault system. We talk to a lot of different people. So there is a resource for you beyond just kind of what's happening at a corporate level. If you have questions or concerns, I'll have my contact information at the end, and I'm happy to set up a time to talk to anybody. Okay. So I'm going to delve into the transition here and kind of what's going to be happening going forward. So what's going to happen is with the acquisition, we are ultimately going to merge the NoMagic plan into the Dassault plan. So when you merge plans together, basically everybody's balance that exists in the the No Magic plan will get kind of poured into the Dassault plan sometime in 2019. So we're still kind of working out the dates around, when that ultimately will happen. But eventually, whatever balance you have in the No Magic plan will appear in your Dassault account. That will carry over not only any balances, but if anybody had a loan outstanding or something like that, the loan would roll over as well. So all of this is kind of automatic. There's nothing that you need to do. We'll kind of take care of things, again, behind the scenes. You'll likely get some communication either from Dassault or from Fidelity around the timing of the plan merger, but there isn't anything kind of physical that you need to do necessarily. One other thing that I'll point out is with the plan merger, the monies will combine under the Dassault plan. There isn't necessarily an option to roll the money out of the No Magic plan. So if you had an IRA account or you just wanted to cash out your 401k, the monies will stay in the No Magic plan until we merge them into the Dassault plan. So that is my second sentence under the second bullet. Because the plan merger is going to take place in 2019, but you're eligible to start using the Dassault plan in less than a month, we're going to have people basically enroll in the Dassault plan kind of like a new employee. So you'll need to select how much you want to contribute to the plan. You'll need to select your investment options. You'll need to select your beneficiaries. So it's going to feel like you're enrolling as a brand new employee in the Dassault plan. And we'll talk a little bit about how you do that, and I have some little screenshots of what the Fidelity website looks like, etc. So everybody will be eligible to participate in the plan come December 1st. So that first payroll in December, you can have your first 401k contribution come out of that. I believe Colin has loaded everybody into Fidelity's system. So once we're done here, you can go out to Net Benefits, which is the Fidelity website. You should be able to register, set up a username and a password for your account, and actually be able to see the Dassault account. It won't have any money in it, but you'd be able to code it for how much you want to have contributed to the 401k plan, what investments you want to use, and then designating a beneficiary.
Hey, Kendall.
Yeah.
Yeah, Bob Gross. Hey, I think it's important to point out to everybody that their ability to contribute in December is subject to the contribution limits for calendar 18, so that if they've already reached that limit, then obviously they won't be able to contribute to the Dassault 401k plan in December.
That's correct. Yes, that's a good point. So if you've already maxed out, if you've already put in $18,500 into the No Magic 401k plan, or really any other 401k plan during 2018, you wouldn't have any room to be able to add additional dollars into the Dassault plan. So if you've already hit the IRS limit, you've maxed out the 401k, then your deferrals would start come January 1st.
And Kendall, just a note on that. My understanding from payroll is that those contribution limits or the contributions that you've made will be loaded into the new DS payroll system. So if you have already maxed out, you shouldn't be allowed to. Meaning, if you put in a contribution percentage, the system will prevent you from having contributions in December.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Very good. Right, I basically covered a lot of things on this slide here. I guess just a couple of helpful hints, so to speak. If you have accounts with Fidelity already, if you already have a 401k account there or an IRA account for that matter, when you log in, you'll use your existing username and password. So it's only if you don't have any Fidelity accounts at all that you would register and set up a new username and password. So Fidelity links all accounts by Social Security number. within their system. So when you log in, anything related to your social, it'll pull up all the different accounts if you have multiple accounts, and then you just click on whichever account you want to go into. So that's a helpful hint. Sometimes people will go through the registration process only to see at the end that they get a little note saying, oh, you already have a username or you already have a password set up. So that'll save you a couple steps as you start looking around to get into the Dassault account. All right, so this is just a quick screenshot of what you're going to see. This under item number 2, new user, that's where you would click if you wanted to set up a new username and a password, again, assuming you don't have an account at Fidelity already. So there's a little wizard that you walk through to set up that username and password. Once you have that, then you'll be able to go into the account and make your different selections. The website that you'll use is netbenefits.com. That's Fidelity's 401k website. Sometimes people will go to fidelity.com, which is their kind of retail website, and you'd still see some of the 401k information. But if you go through fidelity.com and you see the 401k account, in the upper right-hand corner, there's a little hyperlink that will say, bring me to the Net Benefits website. So if you're going to be doing any transactions or something like that, you want to be on the 401k site and not on the regular retail site. Okay. Something else that might be helpful for people is to use the mobile app. So if you like, you can certainly download the Net Benefits app onto your phone. I know for myself, I use that all the time. It's actually been a long time since I've actually used my laptop or my desktop to perform any sort of transactions on my own Fidelity account. I basically do everything on my phone. So this might make it easy for people as well. It can be an Android phone, it can be an Apple phone. Go to the various app store that you need, and you can download the app onto your phone. Fully transactional, do everything that you can do on your desktop, you can do on the phone itself. Okay. Just a quick point on loans. Again, if you do have a loan outstanding, I don't think we do have any loans, but if you did, the loan information would transfer over as part of the planned merger. The repayment schedule will stay the same. The interest rate will stay the same. So, like I said, there's nothing you really need to do with respect to the loans. That will just kind of carry over as part of the process. Okay. With respect to vesting, so we're going to credit everybody their time that they've put in with NoMagic towards Dassault's vesting schedule, which we're going to get to in a second. So if you've been working for NoMagic for 10 years, when you come over to Dassault, at least for 401k purposes, it's going to look like you've worked for Dassault for 10 years, and you'll get credit for that time applied to the vesting schedule on the 401k plan. So we'll basically be using people's original hire dates when we set up everybody's accounts. It's not going to be, the date of acquisition or December 1st as everybody's kind of start date. It'll be your original hire date. Okay. So speaking of things like loans, investing, I've got a little quick comparison here between the two different plans, the NoMagic plan, the Dassault plan. In many ways, they're actually pretty similar. So who is eligible? If you work for Dassault, you're immediately eligible. You can jump into the plan as of the next payroll cycle. So there's no barriers to entry with the 401k plan. In terms of how much you can contribute under the NoMagic plan, it was anywhere from 2 to 90% of pay up to the IRS max. Under the Dassault plan, it's up to 75% of pay. Quite honestly, not really much of a difference there. If you can contribute to 75% of pay, chances are that's plenty of room. You should be able to get done what you need to get done with that. Both plans have a catch-up feature. If you turn age 50, you can put in an extra $6,000. Both plans have a Roth feature, so you can make after-tax Roth contributions into the plan. You can make pre-tax contributions into the plan. You can do some sort of combination thereof. It's up to you. You can decide. Both plans have a match. The match formulas are a little different. Under the No Magic plan, we have the traditional safe harbor match, which is dollar for dollar on the first 3% of pay, and then 50 cents on the dollar up to 5% of pay. So that's effectively equivalent to a 4% match. The Dissot plan is also a 4% match, just stretched out a little bit further. For the Dissot plan, we match 50 cents on the dollar up to the first 8% of pay. Really, conclusion here is to get the full match, you got to do 8% under the Dissot plan. Under the No Magic plan, you just have to do 5%. We do have a difference on the vesting schedule. So there's immediate vesting with the Safe Harbor plan, which is what No Magic has currently. So whatever match money you've received up to this point, it's all yours, will remain 100% vested. For any match money that you receive under Dissot, there's a 4-year graded vesting schedule where we vest 25% per year. But as I mentioned before, you do get credit for your time with No Magic towards that vesting schedule. So if you've worked for No Magic for at least 4 years, you'll enter the Dissot plan 100% vested in the match right out of the gate. If it's something less than 4 years, then the percentages here will apply. Both plans offer loans. The No Magic plan would allow you to have 3 loans outstanding at a time. The Dissot plan only allows 1 loan at a time. Both have withdrawal features once you get to age 59 and a half. If you need to claim hardship, you can roll money into both plans. So, as we kind of stack them up side by side, in many ways they're pretty similar. The percentage amount of match is identical, a little different in terms of how much you have to put in to get the full match. One plan we do have a vesting schedule, one we don't. Okay. So we put together a little comparison on the investments here. So this is really to try and help people determine which funds within the Dissot plan are most similar to the funds that are offered under the No Magic plan. So I like to refer to this as the secret decoder ring. So I'll just pick one off. So if you have money in Invesco Comstock, the most similar fund under the Dissot plan will be the American Beacon Large Cap Value Fund. So like I said before, you'll need to select your own investments as part of the enrollment process for the Dissot plan. So if you're trying to figure out, hey, how do I keep my asset allocation similar to what I had previously, you could use this as a grid. So if there's 4 different funds that you're investing in, you can go to the grid and determine which funds under the Dissot plan would be most equivalent to that. Also on the investment side, I'm just going to kind of categorize some of the different funds that we have so you have a sense of kind of what is available. On the more conservative side, we've got a few different options in the cash category. So if you want to use a money market or a stable value fund, we have those available. We've got 3 different flavors of bond options. Bond index, which is going to be very vanilla kind of bond fund. We have a TIPS fund, which is the PIMCO Real Return. We have a kind of a go anywhere bond fund, the Fidelity Strategic Income. Is a more broad selection of bonds inside the portfolio. If you want to use, I'll come back to that, at least with the T. Rowe Price funds. For U.S. stocks, you can see the mix here. So if you want just low cost, keep my fees as minimal as possible, we have index options through the middle. So if you want large cap, we have the S&P 500 index. We've got a mid cap index. We've got a small cap index. If you want to try and beat the market, we have actively managed funds on the growth and the value side. So it's kind of up to you how you want to assemble these, if you want to do the assembling. But there's, again, kind of choice in terms of how you want to construct the portfolio management, if you want that to be index-based or if you want to have that be actively managed-based. On the international front, again, a few different flavors. Again, we have an international index. We've got an emerging markets fund. We've got a small cap international index. We've got an actively managed developed market fund, Templeton Foreign. So amongst all these, if you are of the mind that you want to kind of build your own portfolio, these are kind of the different ingredients that we have that you can use to assemble something. If, on the other hand, you don't want to assemble your own portfolio, you can use one of the target date strategies. So we use T. Rowe Price as the manager of our target date funds. If people are unfamiliar with kind of how target dates operate, they're effectively autopilot. So you would pick the fund that is most with the date that's closest to when you expect to retire, and T. Rowe Price will kind of take it from there. So I'll use myself as an example. I'm going to be 65 years old in the year 2035. So conveniently for me, there is a fund, the T. Rowe Price 2035 fund, that would align with when I'm going to be retirement age. So the advantage of the target dates is once I make that selection, I'd allocate 100% of my contributions to the T. Rowe 2035 fund. If I pop that fund open and I look inside, I'm going to find 21 different mutual funds within it. And it's basically up to T. Rowe Price to decide, how much money should go in U.S. stocks, how much should go in international stocks, how much should go in bonds, etc. And then as time goes on, as we get closer and closer to the year 2035, they're going to rearrange the mix. They're going to make the portfolio more conservative. The target dates are great for someone who says, you know what, I don't really know very much about investing. I don't really care to know very much about investing. I want somebody to do this for me. That's where the target dates come in. On the other hand, if you said, I love to read the Wall Street Journal and I watch CNBC every night and investing is a big hobby of mine, we've got all the other funds that you can use as ingredients to create your own portfolio. So sort of a summary slide here, key differences. So under the Dassault plan, like I said, the total match amount is identical. It's 4% of pay. Under the Dassault plan, you have to put in 8% to get the full match. Under the No Magic plan, it was 5%. Just a little kind of side note on that. Probably the follow-up question should be, okay, how much should I be saving for retirement? If I put away 8% and I get another 4 from Dassault, that's 12% of pay. Is that going to be enough? We typically coach people to try and save 15% of pay, inclusive of the employer contribution. So just a little side note on kind of what people's targets should be as they look to save if they want to have kind of high probability of success. Another difference between the two plans, a big difference in expense. So the average expense under the No Magic plan was a little over 1%. Our average expense under the Dassault plan is a little below 0.5%. So there's, on average, about 55 basis points of savings to be had. Again, depending on which funds you select, you can drive that number down significantly. So if you use the index strategies that we have as part of the plan, I think the average cost on the index funds is around 4 basis points. So you can get very cheap if you want to keep your investment costs low. Because the investment cost is very low on that side of things, the funds themselves don't share any revenue back to Fidelity. So we're trying to keep the funds as cheap as possible. So we do have an annual administrative fee that you'll see for having your 401k account open. It's $85 a year. We deduct that 85 divided by 4. It's deducted in quarterly installments. So just FYI, 4 times a year you'll see a $21 deduction. That covers basically Fidelity's cost for administering the plan. I think I kind of covered some of these other things. The index options across all asset classes. I think you'll find probably a better web or mobile experience relative to ADP, which I believe you're using currently. Fidelity has a ton of content, calculators, videos, workshops, kind of everything under the sun. They have a whole financial wellness website. So there's a lot of information that you can derive from Fidelity's site. If you don't want to use your computer to poke around, you do have access to the Fidelity Investor Centers. So I think I even put I put on this screen the closest investor center to, I think, where your office is in Plano. So you can always, if you want to meet with somebody from Fidelity, you can make an appointment at one of the investor centers, and you can chat with someone there. Or if you like, you can give me a buzz. I have my contact information here on this slide. Email, phone number, you can reach out to me. I'm happy to talk to anybody. So I'm going to go back to this just as a quick reminder of kind of any sort of next steps. If you're interested in participating in the 401k plan, we'll want you to go into that Net Benefits website. You'll need to select your deferral rate, select your investments, pick a beneficiary. You should see 401k deductions come out of I think it was the December 6th payroll. So that's when it will start. Just like we were talking about before, you do need to be a little bit sensitive to what you put into 401ks up until this point. Make sure you still have some room. But if you do have room, you're welcome to jump right in. Sometime in 2019, we will transfer the balance of the dollars that are sitting in the No Magic plan into the Dassault plan. When those dollars come across, likely what we'll do is we'll just have them follow your existing investment allocation. So if you pick 4 funds, 25% apiece, when the No Magic money comes over, it'll just be deposited into those 4 funds, again, 25% apiece. Okay. And with that, I don't think I have another slide after the more information slide. So maybe we'll open it up for some questions.
Sure. So if anybody does have any questions, feel free to take yourself off mute and ask them. One thing I do want to make sure is clear to everyone is, again, Kendall and Arthur J. Gallagher work for Dassault Systems, and they work for you. So you are welcome to contact Kendall at any time. I mean, normal business hours. He's located in the Boston area, so normal, 8 to 5, 9 to 5 Eastern time to schedule time with Kendall. And he can review the investment choices that we have here to help you figure out what are the best investment choices to meet your retirement goals, and also just to help you figure out what are your retirement goals. So we have a large number of our population that does reach out to Kendall. They typically schedule appointments with Kendall or someone else on his team, like Adam, periodically throughout the year. So maybe once or twice a year, they sort of do a check-in. Again, that service is completely free to you. You can take advantage of Kendall and his services at any time at no cost to you. The other thing, and again, Kendall has mentioned this during the presentation, but in order for you to have any 401k contributions beginning in December, you do have to go into that Fidelity system, make your elections. There's nothing transferring over. So if you don't go into the Fidelity system to make your elections beginning in that first payroll of December, you won't have deductions coming out of your paycheck. So please remember to do so. But at this time, yes, if you have questions, please feel free.
And Colin, this is Connie. I'm sorry, just about that specific our payroll input date for that payroll is, I think, Friday the 30th. So to do that, we would need to have gone into Fidelity and made those elections prior to that Friday, correct?
Certainly. So I would recommend, in all honesty, trying to get your elections in by, at minimum, November 28th.
20.
That's a Wednesday, because every week Fidelity sends a file to our payroll. That file.
Thank you. I was even going to say the 23rd, but thank you.
But yes, the sooner that you make those elections, the better. It'll make sure that everything is in place for that first payroll.
So we just need to go to the benefits and net benefits and create an account, correct?
Correct. That Fidelity website, netbenefits.com.
Okay. How does the vesting work if we're not fully vested yet?
So the employer is DS is still making contributions into your account. You'll just see an amount vested. So let's say you've been with NoMagic for 2 years. You'll see a vested amount, meaning that's your contributions plus the company contributions, and only 50% at a 2-year seniority. You would have 50% of that employer contribution vested. So you'll see a vested amount and an unvested amount.
Okay, but after the 4 years, all the allocations that are already made would already become yours, correct?
Correct. Anything
Okay.
after 4 years, everything that's in that account will belong to you for forever.
Are there any limitations as to how often we can switch the fund allocation percentages?
Nope. There aren't any limitations. You can change it around anytime you want. So for fund changes, you can change anytime you want, as frequently as you want. For investment, or for sort of payroll contributions, what percentage of pay you're putting in, and you can change that at any time as well. You just have to be a little sensitive to kind of when payroll is running. If you do it right before the payroll run occurs, it might not hit for that pay cycle. It would hit for the following pay cycle.
Quick question on the transfer. When our current 401k transfers, if I understand correctly, the amount is liquidated to dollars and then reinvested, correct? It's not an in-kind transfer.
Correct. Yep. It all goes to cash. The cash gets wired over and then gets reinvested into your account.
Based on the current allocation.
That's right.
Okay. And do you also have ETFs, or is it only mutual funds in our availabilities?
Yeah, so the way the plan is structured, we don't have ETFs. Most of the funds are mutual funds. We have a couple that are what they call collective trusts. So the target date funds, for example, are collective trusts. We also have a Fidelity Contra Fund. That is also a collective trust. So the collective trusts are not mutual funds. So they don't have a ticker symbol necessarily for them. They're clones of the mutual fund version. The advantage of the collective trust is price, that we can get a better price using the collective rather than a mutual fund itself. So if you want information about the collectives, you can go to the Fidelity site. All the data is out there. If you wanted to try and track them outside of Fidelity, we can give you the ticker symbols for sort of the most similar mutual fund version.
So we only have a subset of what's available in Fidelity, if I understand correctly.
Correct. Yes. The funds that we covered in the presentation, that's the menu of options.
Okay. Is there a way we can get those so we can, because I assume when we first create our net benefits account, will that automatically be our options, or? Yeah,
so the full menu of choices of funds that we looked at, here I'll go back. Well, it's on a few different slides, so I'll leave it here. So all these funds will be out on the Fidelity site. If you want further information about them on the Fidelity site, there's hyperlinks next to the name of each where you can click on them and it'll bring you to a fact sheet on each of the different funds. So you can do some research there. I think on this screen here, I have the tickers So for those that do have tickers, you can use these to research any of the funds themselves, so that when you go in to enroll, you have an idea of what you're looking to do. Any other questions?
This is Joe from Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
The comparison of fund to fund,
Yep.
that's available also for viewing. That can be downloaded and printed.
Yeah. Colin, do you want to send
Yeah, so
send everybody this presentation?
the presentation and the recording of this session will be put onto that rewards@3ds.com site. So if you've gone out there before, and certainly I'll send out a link for that. But we have that No Magic section on our rewards@3ds.com site for your enrollment period to help you with not only benefits, but we'll put this 401k information out there as well. So again, both the slide deck and the recording will be made available.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Good.
All right. Well, thank you all for your time. Like I said, I expect that we'll have the recording and the slide deck posted sometime by the end of the day today, but I'll make sure to send an email out to everyone because I know everyone at No Magic wasn't able to attend, but just to remind them of where they can see this recording and get a copy of the slide deck as needed. So thank you all for your time today, and good luck with everything else. If you do have any questions about the 401k, you can obviously contact Kendall. You can contact me as well. And if you have questions about the overall benefits enrollment, you're welcome to contact me for that as well. But thank you for your time today, and we'll talk to you all soon.
Thanks, Colin.
Colin.
Thanks, Kendall.
Thank you, Connie. Thanks,
Connie.
Kendall.